so I'm going to restart. This is 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater. This is the last live show. It's going to be kind of a new show, talking about a lot of gaming stuff. And we're just going to go through and kind of introduce ourselves. I'm Ben, and my major is media arts and game development. And we're just going to kind of start through the studio and just introduce ourselves. So why don't you go ahead?
Yes, I'm Ryan Brown. My major is media arts and game development as well, and I have a creative writing minor.
My name is Sam Ashenbrenner, and I'm currently undeclared.
My name is Cole, and my major is electronic media.
My name is Chase Brigham, and my major is media arts and game development.
Awesome. So one of the first things that we're going to be talking about is a little bit about Zelda. And I want to hear you guys' opinions about kind of what is a good starter game for Zelda. Mostly for a new player, kind of talk about some mechanics, even if it's just like how the game looks, like how easy it is to play. So does anybody have kind of any like opinions that they have about it? Kind of take it, if you want to just go ahead.
This is actually an interesting topic because I hear this a lot being somebody who does not play Zelda. I've never played a Zelda game before, and a lot of people are throwing around games that I should and should not play to start. So I'll just throw the ones out there that like people tell me are a good one. Is I hear Twilight Princess a lot is good, and I hear I should not start with Breath of the Wild because it is not, like, people say that it's a good game, but it's not good for a Zelda first game.
Absolutely.
I think that like Ocarina of Time was a pretty okay one for me to start with. I started with Majora's Mask, sadly, so I had not a lot of fun, but it was still entertaining to me to play the game. It was a lot harder than Ocarina of Time was, that is for sure.
Okay, so come from someone that tends to play a lot of Zelda games. Based on my experience with the times I do play Zelda games, I think the best starter is probably Link to the Past. It's a pretty simple, easy game to get into. It fixes the problems with the first game, it adds some new quality of life changes. The combat is better than the first game. And I think it's hold up still pretty well. Because like, this version Zelda one is still pretty fun, but there's some things that don't age as well. But this game, they age still really well. Even got a sequel for the 3DS.
Absolutely. One of my personal favorites is obviously Ocarina of Time, and like not even as a favorite, just as a good starter game. This isn't where I started. I started actually on Legends of Zelda Spirit Tracks, but the reason I think this is a really good one is because it's a really good introduction game for those who are looking to get more into the Zelda lore and some of the history about the game as well. This is also where Zelda also introduced Z targeting, where you can lock onto enemies and kind of different combat. It introduced a different combat style, a little bit of an easier combat style for when you use the boomerang and the bow and arrow and those kinds of things. And it is also a super important place in the timeline because this is where the Zelda timeline got split into 3 branches. So I think Ocarina of Time is probably a really good one to start with, but obviously all of your guys' opinion, all of your guys' stuff is actually pretty good too. So some of the ones I actually didn't really think of. Link to the Past is a really good game, so that's super awesome.
Yeah, see, in my opinion, if you're going to play Zelda, you've got to go all the way back to the first game. I'm talking Legend of Zelda for the NES, because nothing else will get you the full experience. You play the first game, right? You say, okay. You play the second game, even better, all right? As you go through the years and play each new game that came out, you're getting a full view of what your average gaming child in 1985 was experiencing as they evolved with this franchise. You think about it, you play Ocarina of Time, there's a whole decades of Legend of Zelda related content that has been created that you're just missing out on. I think Cole was really onto something with A Link to the Past, because in my opinion, you should probably start with a 2D one before you go to the 3D one.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately the 2D ones, that is the origins of Legend of Zelda, you ought to start there, go to the 3D ones later. But Link to the Past, although it's a great pick, nothing can be as classic as the original.
For sure. So those of you who have played, so obviously the first 2 Zeldas were for the original NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. So out of the first 2 Zeldas, which one would you think is the best then?
Of the first 2 ones?
The first 2 that were on NES, yes.
Well, there are problems with both of them.
Absolutely.
And each of them have their own, they have their pros and cons. The first game, people complain, well, nowadays the first game is harder than it would have been back in the day, because the people don't know this. People complain that the original Legend of Zelda is so labyrinthine, it's so confusing, and that you would never guess that you needed to play the flute there in order to advance the game, or to put a bomb at some random spot because there are no indicators as to where you put the bomb. But if you look in the manual that came with the game, it actually gave you hints to all of the secrets in the game. So it wasn't just you weren't just throwing bombs at random walls. You had a book that came with the game that told you there's something hidden in this screen. Look there. So gamers today don't know about this stuff. They don't know about this stuff. The second game is just a weird one. I recommend playing it for the history. It's also, I think, fun, but in a larger context, that is a dead end of the Legend of Zelda franchise. They definitely never went back to the style of game that Zelda 2 was, where it's a side-scroller, like a Final Fantasy style. Yeah, no, they never went back to that. But I think it's still worth playing because it's a great game.
Absolutely, I 100% agreement. So, what are the different types of Zelda games? Like the different game types. Like if you use like, or examples like an open world, like Breath of the Wild, or more of a linear style. And how have the Zelda games evolved in the last couple years? Because we've had a couple of different types of them. Obviously, open world being the most popular for games nowadays. But yeah, how have they evolved? Like, what different types have you guys noticed, for sure?
I always thought of like the Legend of Zelda series as like, I don't know, when I'm playing Ocarina of Time, it does feel more open world, and like Majora's Mask, it feels open-ish. Not as much as like Breath of the Wild is, but it still felt like I can roam over here or go over here, because in Majora's Mask, outside of the city, there are so many areas you can explore that like you actually need a horse to get the place to place faster than you would walking or whatever.
Right.
And it just feels bigger than just a small game.
Absolutely.
For me, let's see, all these Zelda games were top-down 2D, except for Zelda 2. And like, you know, they're still open world, and once we get to like the 3D games, we got like, you know, I would say like linear open world, where you like go from like different open world zones from one area to another area. It was like not with Breath of the Wild, where it's like one big map. It was like you go from one area to another area. And like, has like evolved, like each Zelda game does have their own unique gimmick, like with Majora's Mask, the time gimmick, and that was like really different compared to the other Zelda games. Wind Waker has like the big open sea world where you like travel. Twilight Princess has the wolf combat gimmick where you like transform to a wolf, and like with certain areas that affect other things as well. It's like, you know, it was usually like with most Zelda games, you go for like, you do one task to another task before you progress through the story. And then for like, with Breath of the Wild, it's more hardened back to the first game, where you can like tackle things in different order, which was like a nice change of pace.
Okay, yeah, for sure. That's good.
Yeah, so being somebody who hasn't played Zelda games before, all I know is what I've seen through other people. So I don't know, I can't say for sure like the evolution of the Zelda games, although I do know how wildly popular Breath of the Wild ended up being,
Okay.
and how successful it was. So I mean, if I had to make predictions for like future games beyond like game after game after game after this, I think more will end up being open world.
Awesome. So we're going to transition a little bit here into talking about the most recent Nintendo Direct that happened, I believe it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that were announced. The first thing that I would like to start with is the new Fire Emblem game. I think it's going to be called Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. What is this game going to be about? Does anybody kind of remember from what the Direct was saying? Yeah, absolutely, Cole.
Yeah, so I'm a big Fire Emblem fan. I would consider myself that. I don't really care too much about the Dynasty Warriors game, so I don't know if I would get it for that. But yeah, I really enjoyed Three Houses, and what I know is like, you know, I think this is supposed to take place between the 5-year time skip that happened, is my best guess. And it's like, you know, they have like little like major designs that they made up for the game. And I'm kind of worried about it because there's a lot of things that I worry about, because one thing I like about Three Houses, there's kind of involved spoilers, but there was like no true happy routes that you can go on. With all the routes that were in the game, there was like no big happy one. And like what I know with the the most recent Zelda Dynasty Warriors type game that was Breath of the Wild theme. They kind of like, it's not really canon. And even though I don't think this one's gonna be canon too, I really hope it doesn't end with a happy ending for all the houses that are involved with. And I just like, I'm worried about that. At least we'll say though, it's gonna be nice to see more Three Houses characters, even if Nintendo's keep pushing them, which makes sense, like the most popular like Fire Emblem game. But like, you know, I hope like we see all the Three Houses characters in cutscenes, since like we do see that in the original game, but you know, they just stand still talking. I would like to see them be more dynamic, which is the thing I'm hoping for.
Okay, yeah. So obviously we're going to kind of steer away from spoilers a little bit here, because I know there are probably a lot of people who have yet to experience some of these games for themselves. But yeah, so does anybody have any other comments about the new Fire Emblem game?
Yeah, so I'm a big Fire Emblem fan as well, although I haven't played Warriors, and I don't think I'll play this one either.
Okay.
Because just from what I've seen of Warriors, or like the first game, is that it's not much like the main series games, and I think that's the big thing that other people have with it, is it's not like traditional Fire Emblem. Because I grew up with like traditional Fire Emblem. I played some of the traditional games, and I think that's what I'll end up sticking with. I don't think I'm gonna end up playing this new game. Although I did like Three Houses, and I love seeing the return of these characters.
Absolutely. So in terms of like the more traditional Fire Emblem games, do you think talk about a little bit about their replayability? Like, are these games that you can go back and think that you could replay any amount of times?
Personally, I would love to go back and replay some games I've already played before, and other Fire Emblem games I have not played, because there's like Three Houses, for example. Like, there are different endings, and you want to get like these different endings, these different routes.
Okay.
And with older games, like, you can have different like experiences in each playthrough, because you can select like what units you want to use through like battles and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Can I just say something to add on to that? 100% agree, because replaying Fire Emblem games, despite how long they can be, I mean, you can skip through the story pretty fast, but replaying Fire Emblem games is always fun because of all the units and new experience you can have. So in case you don't know, Fire Emblem has a thing called permadeath. So if your units die, you cannot lose it again. And well, some people are afraid to play like that and they reset. It's a really fun new experience when you move on with your units dying, and you can just try out other units. Like for me, like when I experienced that, I found someone else that I never thought would ever lose, and it became one of my favorite units to lose. And also, another thing with Fire Emblem games is that level ups are random. Each character have like growth rates, so it's not a guarantee that you get stats every level up or not. So even if you lose the same character, they will have different stats every playthrough. So it's really fun game series to replay over and over again.
Awesome. So out of the other, we have a couple of other games to talk about. I know they did release some stuff about Mario Strikers, so obviously, hopefully our gamekeeping Wii people will be pretty excited about that one. I personally am. I'm a huge soccer fan, and when they bring soccer into some classic video games, that's really awesome. I know they're talking about a new Kirby. The thing that I would like to talk about is the new Mario Kart. How do we feel about Nintendo not bringing in a new Mario Kart, instead just bringing in another DLC? What are some thoughts on that?
I honestly think I don't know. I feel like it's the expansion. Just having us pay for more of the maps rather than a new game means that they don't want to release anything big anytime soon, because they think they've hit like their ultimate good Mario Kart. That there won't be any better Mario Karts down the line. Okay. Which doesn't give a lot of creativity, but it does give us cool maps.
Right, so obviously we're coming out with, I think we have 48 new maps, which could be almost a whole nother game. Cole, what do you have to say about it?
I want to add on, I don't mind too much with Mario Kart. I feel like, for other games that keep getting releases, I'm sorry about mispronouncing that, but other games that keep getting released over and over again, like Breath of the Wild or Skyrim, I feel like for a game like Mario Kart, the same player content is nice, but I feel like it's one of those type of games that they could just keep expanding on, rather than just release new entries. And I don't mind that with Mario Kart with the new tracks that's coming out. However, I do have one issue though. So if you notice with the new tracks, they look much worse compared to the tracks we have in the original game. and you just have like a graphic downgrade and art style that don't match the newer games. And that felt really lazy, especially since Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold so well that you think Nintendo will at least, like, you know, upgrade the tracks to look about as well as the Mario Kart 8 tracks. Or the way these, it still like matched the art style as best as they could. Which is a shame because Mario Kart 8 looked amazing. So like you see this wonderful track, and then you just see like, oh, this track looks like it came out of the phone game, which it did.
Right. I do really enjoy Mario Kart 8. I played a lot with buddies, and I think it's one of those grab your friends type of games. You could be super competitive about it. You could, you know, I know the campus here has some tournaments that they do as well. But even if it's just a Saturday night, you guys want to just kind of have a good time with your friends, I do think that a 48 new maps would be kind of a nice addition to it, because if you're playing this game since it came out, obviously some of the maps can get a little old. You know, you want a little bit of a change. How long has Mario Kart 8 been out?
2014. It came out on the Wii U.
Okay, awesome.
8 years, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when did Mario Kart 8 Deluxe come out, with the release of the Switch?
Yes. Well, it didn't come out on the release on the Switch. It came out a couple months after, but it came out in 2017.
2017. All right. So
2017.
it's been a couple years since we've had some map updates for sure.
Yeah.
Other than a couple of other updates that they've put in, obviously adding a couple things.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I want to talk about with the Nintendo Direct is the Switch Sports. Obviously, we've all heard the new music. I personally am pretty hyped about it. I loved Wii Sports as a kid. Obviously, it was when I was a kid. But I've also seen a lot of stuff where people have been trying to bring back Wii Sports. And I think this would be a really awesome addition to some of that, seeing some of those new series on like YouTube and stuff. I think it'd be pretty funny.
I would say for the Switch Sports, I was afraid because they didn't announce the Mii, so we all thought it was going to get replaced. But then later, it's like, okay, so the Miis are still there. Overall, it's probably going to be like a fine, like, sports game. I probably won't be too interested, but I'll probably play every now and then at someone else's house.
Yeah, so in terms of the Miis and like the different character representations for Switch Sports, what opinions you guys have on that? Because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, whether people wanted the Miis to stay, didn't want the Miis to stay. Ryan, Sam, do you guys have anything that you want to add to that?
Well, at this point, it really feels like the Mii is an essential part of Nintendo's branding.
Absolutely.
The Mii is Nintendo. So I think, honestly, I would be surprised if they didn't have Miis, because, you know, that's just what your avatar looks like in any Nintendo property.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, if you have Miis on, like, the Switch, like, on the system, right, you might as well use them, is what I'm thinking. And, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Chase, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it was funny to see everyone's reactions to the Miis not being like the first thing they showed in the like showcase for it, because it's like what's wrong with them trying some new character models? Like, I get the Miis are so iconic with like Wii stuff and Nintendo, but like I like to see that they are trying to make it more advanced or advance more in a certain direction. Like, maybe this could go in making new character models like that, or new ways to accessorize these kind of Mii characters.
Awesome, yeah. All right, so that's pretty much all we have about the Nintendo Direct. Obviously, that is out there for people to catch up on. So the next thing that I want to talk about is just some general Nintendo news. And then, obviously, I'm not going to touch on it too much just because for time's sake, but I know there are problems with the new OLED model Switch not being available. I know some of them, it's kind of like the PS5, so if you can get your hands on one, get your hands on one, but I know they are currently not being, like, it's really hard to find them. But one of the big things is, and I know a couple of you have some point of views on this, is the what is Nintendo's view? So I'm really thinking about this from Nintendo's point of view, not really from Sony or Microsoft, but from Nintendo's point of view on the Sony-Microsoft buyouts. Like, is there something that they have in the pipeline, or are they just kind of enjoying being Nintendo and they're not really worried about what everybody else is doing? Yeah, Cole.
Oh, are you gonna say first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't really think Nintendo really care that much, honestly. I think it usually comes down to, like, with Sony buying Bungie, since Bungie was never developing a game for the Switch, it wasn't going to hurt them that much. Like, for now, like, Bungie is a Destiny-focused company. They might make something new in the future, who knows, but it's like they're focusing on Destiny, which is not on Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
It will probably bother Nintendo a little bit with Activision, but, like, I think with Microsoft, since they're buddy-buddy with Nintendo, and like Microsoft is more lenient, don't have little games published on other consoles. I think the games that would have won on Nintendo Switch are still gonna be there. So I don't think Call of Duty will ever come to the Switch, which it hasn't. Like Call of Duty isn't on Switch, but like for like say a new Crash or a Spyro game, those would still probably come to the Switch eventually.
For sure. Chase, did you?
In my opinion, I think right now Nintendo is like sitting back, relaxing, because they think they're like, oh, this will all die down and we're still gonna be on top. But all it will take is like, because Nintendo's focused more on re-giving us nostalgia, keep giving us the nostalgia feeling, and will never go away. But if, let's say, like a new Treyarch game comes out and bam, it's the new hit, everyone's into it, then Nintendo will start panicking, and then they will have to push themselves to making either new content, or they'll have to make a game that everyone's like, oh, I love this series, and then give it out immediately so everyone stares at Nintendo rather than the new game that is like beating out all the sales.
Sure. For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what was said before. Like very start of this topic was like I don't think Nintendo really cares. I think Nintendo's just gonna keep riding their own wave and doing what they want.
Nice, yeah, and as Nintendo should. I mean, Nintendo is a pretty integral part of a lot of our generation's childhood. Like, I vaguely remember first, second grade not going anywhere without my DS Lite. I mean, and then even before that, I'm a huge N64 fan, which brings me to my next topic is about some of the new ports that are coming to the Switch. Because I know there's the N64 expansion, which I personally am very, very excited for. We also have, obviously, the Nintendo Online SNES perks, and then I don't know if you guys want to talk about Earthbound a little bit, because I know that was one of the things that was talked about. And then Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and Portal 1 and 2. So if anybody has any thoughts about any of those, by all means, go for it.
I do. So, I mean, I think Kingdom Hearts was already announced coming to the Switch with Sword review, and I'm mad of how they handle it because it's a cloud version of a PS2 game. Like, technically, these are like the PS3 HD remasters, but they could still make it one on Switch. But Square Enix decided to make it the cloud version, and what I know from everyone that plays it is does not run well on Switch. Like, you have to have a really good internet to run these games, and like, if you don't have the best internet, you're just not gonna run on Switch. And Switch is mostly, like, you know, it's supposed to be handheld and console, but it's like it's a handheld console that's handheld like device that plugs to like sort of like a TV thing. And it's like, oh man, this handheld console will go well with a game that requires Wi-Fi, which is annoying to deal with. And it's like, it bothers me that they couldn't bother to forward it on Switch, they just make a cloud version. Like, maybe I get why 3 can't run a Switch, but they could make the other games run a Switch. And also, not mentioned here, but I am looking forward to Konoha and Live or Live coming to the Switch. Okay. Especially Live or Live, since that game was only Japan only and it's getting localized in the West. Fun fact for Live or Live, if you recognize the song Megalovania from Undertale, it was based on a song with a similar name in Live or Live. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome, yeah. Anybody else have anything about that stuff?
For my opinion on like the new, like what you said, what were they called again? I'm sorry.
The ports.
The ports, yeah. My opinion on them is that as cool as it is to bring a game back from like basically from the dead or just from a long time ago, but you have to have internet connection the entire time, especially if it's a single player game. It's kind of like, yay, I get to play this game, but only when I'm like at home or somewhere that has internet.
It's only for Kingdom Hearts, but the other ports don't require that.
Well, if they did though, it's kind of like hard to play a single player game like that. In my opinion, it would be almost impossible. I would stop enjoying it the moment I left my house.
I agree.
So I do think, though, with how wide access to Wi-Fi is, I don't think that should be too much of a problem, especially if you're going to be leaving your house. Most likely you're probably going to be doing something productive anyways. But I could totally see, like, if you're going on a road trip and you want to have something to do while you're in the car, I totally understand that a little bit. I want to talk more about Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and Portal 1 and 2. I've played Portal 1. I've not played Portal 2. And then I'm not familiar with the Kingdom Hearts games. Or anybody who's even relatively familiar with the Kingdom Hearts game? Ryan, Sam, are you guys I don't familiar with
I
those
am
ones.
not. I have a friend that really likes Kingdom Hearts, and he tells me about it every now and then. But like, I haven't played it myself.
Okay.
Yeah, never played Kingdom Hearts in my life. You know, there's like Donald Duck is in them, I think. I really don't know much about these games.
About it where they have some different characters that they have pulled into them. Yeah, cool.
I'm currently playing through the first game, and I enjoy it. It's like, you know, it's quite janky with the first game, but I do know the second game really improves some of that. So I'm, you know, getting through the Kingdom Hearts games. I do hear, you know, a lot of mixed opinions on like some of the later Kingdom Hearts games, like the spin-offs, and with Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, I have friends that like it, and other friends that don't like it. It's one of the series that is iconic, but like, you got a lot of mixed opinions on it.
Awesome. So I saved a lot of time for this one because I know this is a really big subject, and which is Pokemon. We're going to talk a little bit about Pokemon. Obviously, there has been a new game a new game that just came out on the Switch, so Pokemon Legends of Arceus. I want to talk about it, but I want to stay away from spoilers. Mostly for not even mostly for myself, just for those people who haven't, hadn't gotten a chance to play or seen anything about it yet. So let's talk about some of the elements of Arceus. Not so much the story, but some of the elements that go into Arceus. Like how different is it from Sword and Shield or some of its predecessors? I don't know if there's anybody here who's played it yet or has seen anything about it, but that is one thing that I do really want to talk about because Arceus is kind of a pretty big thing right now.
Yeah, so I played through the game. I've beaten it. I beat most of the post-story, and I think this is good. This is a good game.
Yeah.
I just like take you through like story gameplay and stuff. As for the story, I think I was saying with spoilers, obviously.
Absolutely.
It's very passable. I think the story it's okay. It's okay. For a Pokemon game, it's good though. There's a pattern they kind of stick to in the story, which can get a little repetitive, I think. But all in all, I liked it. As for the gameplay, I find it very satisfying, especially compared to other Pokemon games. Obviously you see Pokemon out in the wild, you like run up to them and you go catch them yourselves, like instead of initiating a battle. I mean, you could still initiate a battle.
So that's definitely something that's different from Sword and Shield then.
Oh yeah. But yeah, you could just catch the Pokemon like straight up if you want. And that's very satisfying to me, especially like when you catch a Pokemon like that. Anyway, a little firework comes out of the Pokeball. So good.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So obviously Sword and Shield was a super open world concept. Obviously with the exception of having to initiate the battles of the Pokemon or making them run into you, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
How is Legends of Arceus more open world than Sword and Shield was?
Yeah, it's definitely more open world. I feel like the wild area in Sword and Shield is what Legends Arceus is definitely improving upon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is it Arceus or Arceus?
I was gonna ask the same question.
That's something a lot of people debate. I say Arceus. I hear both ways. So.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Legends of Arceus. All right.
I've said them both. So.
Chase, do you have anything? Have you been able to had a chance to check out Arceus yet?
I have friends that play it, and from what I've been told by them, they love it. I see them like whenever we're at, they're waiting for people to show up for food, or just like waiting for something to happen in general for everyone to gather for. I see my friends always playing Legends of Arceus, and it looks pretty good. There's like a couple of cool features in it. The open world concept is really cool. The fact that from what I've seen, you can ride them, or Pokemon can carry you in some cases. That's a really cool feature in my opinion.
That is awesome.
Yeah, you can get mounts to like traverse terrain easier, and you slowly unlock these mounts. So it's not like you get everything like right at the beginning. Like you have to work for it.
Absolutely, of course, yeah. Where it's kind of like Minecraft, where saddles you can't. Those are something that you can't construct.
Yeah,
you have to like find them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
The only thing I can't understand about the game though is the timeline, where it is.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's something a lot of people are
Because
confused
from
about.
what I've been told, it's an isekai, where
Why don't you explain that? Explain that word you just used a little bit.
Isekai, it's an anime term where like you basically get transported to another world in a way.
Okay. So this game doesn't take place in one of the regions that we've.
From what I've been told, no.
Okay.
And then like there you do get starter Pokemon, but they're not like
the traditional games.
Yeah. They're from like 3 different games from what I've been told.
Yeah. I thought it was time travel, but I'm not too familiar with the game.
For sure, yeah.
So from what I know, it's just really old Sinnoh region, but it's not the same. Because it was so old that it's different, you know, if that makes sense?
So it's a less developed Sinnoh region.
Yeah.
Awesome, okay.
Except your starter Pokemon are not Sinnoh Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. They're Hisuian.
Interesting. I am not super up on Pokemon lore. I've played a lot of the games. I've watched every episode of the anime.
Really? Every episode?
Yeah, actually. Every
On the episode?
Almost every episode, yes.
That's pretty impressive.
My freshman year, that's literally all I did. And then I ended up owning Ultra Sun and Moon on DVD because I liked it so much. I still have it on DVD. Okay, so the consensus that I'm getting from Ryan and Chase here is that this is a cannot put down game. It's one of those games that you're not going to want to put down.
I've still been playing it, yeah, pretty much since launch.
Have you finished the Pokédex?
I have not. I'm very close.
Are you close? Okay, so favorite Pokemon from Legends Arceus?
Oh no, don't do this to me.
Pick your favorite Pokemon.
The new evolution of Sneasel.
Okay.
Sneasler.
All right.
I've seen
A lot of people
Sneasler.
don't really like Sneasler, but I like the noises it makes. I think it's kind of cute.
Totally, yeah. Chase, do you know enough about the game to pick a favorite Pokemon?
I don't know enough about the game, like what Pokemon are specifically in it.
Okay.
But I do, I from the feature that I saw with Sneasel or whatever, the ice Pokemon or whatever.
Sneasler, yeah.
The 3rd stage of it is the one you can put yourself in its basket.
Oh.
And it carries you around, and you're literally peeking through this little basket hole. And it's a really cool feature.
Yeah, it's one of the Pokemon you can like. It allows you to climb ledges, so it's one of the mounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming this new evolution of Sneasel is larger than human size then.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say, in order for you to fit in its backpack, I'm just thinking of this guy.
It's a big backpack, I will say.
It's a big backpack. Awesome.
Can I just say my favorite Pokemon? I don't even know if these Pokemon appear in Legend Arceus or not, but can I just say it?
Sure.
Yeah. So for my favorite cute Pokemon, it has to be Eevee. And for the Pokemon I just like one pick that is kind of cool, Blaziken.
Okay. Sam, how about you?
Well, for my money, it's probably gotta be, probably Primeape.
That's awesome.
That's gonna be my pick. Probably not a lot of people would pick Primeape. That's gonna be my pick, though.
I would have to say my favorite. If I'm gonna go off what Cole was saying, my favorite cute Pokemon is probably gonna be Dedenne, which is one of
that?
It's an electric. It's another one of the electric mouse Pokemon.
Kind of like Pikachu, but like oranger, smaller.
Yes,
Orange,
it's a little smaller, right? And then my favorite Pokemon has to be probably one of the evolutions, Umbreon. I've had one on my team in pretty much every game that I've played since it's come out. So yeah. So then that brings me into my next thing is, because you guys were talking about, Pokemon from different games, is what is your favorite base Pokemon game? And just talk a little bit about why, maybe. So we'll just start right over here with you.
Yeah. So my favorite is 5th gen. I can't really pick Black, White, Black 2, White 2, but just like 5th gen in general, I really like. I think the story was phenomenal. I personally really like the Pokemon designs, most of them, I should say. I know a lot of people like kind of look down upon some of the Pokemon designs, like Vanillite is just like, it's just an ice cream cone, right?
Right.
So obviously, like, there are some exceptions. There are exceptions to every gen of Pokemon, but I really like most of the designs there. Not only that, the character designs. N's a good character. Good, well thought out. I like the story of him and his design, like how he looks. And then obviously, I can't bring up 5th gen without mentioning nostalgia. Like, that was one of the first games I played, Pokemon-wise, and it really hits some nostalgia strings there.
Awesome, yeah. So What about the rival? What did you think about the rival situation in that one?
The rivals were definitely nicer than previous games, especially like first gen, second gen, whatever. But I don't know. I personally like the rivals.
Okay. Sam, how about you? What's your favorite base Pokemon game?
Well, mine would probably be White from, fifth gen. Of course, I picked White because you get the opposite color Pokemon. That's
Legendary, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and Zekrom is cooler than Reshiram, so had to go with White.
Fair enough.
So yeah, definitely that game. But I will admit that my reasons for thinking it's my favorite are just like, well, I played that one. That was one of the only Pokemon games I ever beat because I don't really play a lot of JRPGs. Not a big JRPG guy, so.
Absolutely.
But that game's pretty cool.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay, so while I don't play a lot of Pokemon games, quick question. When you say base Pokemon games, are we counting the remakes? Like, can we like say Heart Gold and Soul Silver, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So yeah, it usually has to be between two picks, and like even though I'm not like the biggest Pokemon fan, I grew up with Gen 3 and I enjoyed that. And I can also say like in terms of my favorite soundtrack, like so far, I mean there's probably other games with better soundtracks, but I really like Heart Gold and Soul Silver because of the National Park theme. Like that is a really nice song. It's just really with like so much emotion. And it's like I really like the remake version. But yeah, and also like Gen 3, like both Ruby and Sapphire and Omega, and also like the Fire Red and Leaf Green remake. Like those are the games I grew up with, so I'd probably just say they're my favorite. But like still, I don't consider myself like a big Pokemon fan. But it's like if I were to play a Pokemon game, I'd probably do it in Nuzlocke playthrough style, just to like challenge myself and make it much more like a epic, depressing journey. But yeah, your turn.
Okay. Yeah.
So I grew up with the Game Boy, I grew up with the big cartridges for the Game Boy, like Pokemon Red, I had Pokemon Blue, Red, and Yellow, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly enjoyed Pokemon Emerald way more. I don't know. It has one of my favorite Pokemon, Trico, in it, and
Okay.
it was the first colored Pokemon game that I viewed ever. I also do love the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, except for Super. I don't classify that as good. But I love that the story and it's the more of the getting to know the characters, or like feeling for your partner Pokemon and going on these great adventures, and then the twist at the end that I always see coming but yet can't see coming always gets me crying for the game.
Awesome. So I think we're gonna go right into our last life, which is going to be our favorite Pokemon game of all time. Let's just switch up the order, and we're just gonna start randomly. So who would want to start with that one?
I can start mine really quick.
Go ahead.
Stadium 2. I like the main games, and I just really like the music. I really like the old school like N64 3D graphics. Like people are into 8-bit, sometimes 60-bit. But I kind of like have an appeal for like early 3D stuff. I like to see more games replicate, which other games just do 8-bit. But other than that, Stadium 2.
Okay. Who'd like to go next?
Okay. My favorite game of all time, I would have to say, is Pokemon Black, because Reshiram is better than Zekrom. But I will say Arceus is close behind.
Awesome. Wow. That's awesome. Okay.
I can go next. My favorite Pokemon game of all time has to be Pokemon Mystery Dungeons Explorers the Sky. I can never forget Spinda's smoothie place that gives you the same thing as eating the berries, but it's just so much more entertaining. And the whole game gives me emotions every time I play it. It's so much fun.
All right.
See, for my money, the best Pokemon game has got to be Pokemon Snap.
Oh.
Plain and simple. It's a great game. Different kind of gameplay than most of the other Pokemon games. As far as I'm aware, I haven't played most of them. But if, the pictures, the covers, or anything to judge by, most of them don't have that Pokemon Snap classic style of gameplay. So I'm gonna go with Pokemon Snap.
Awesome. I am gonna have to go with Ultra Sun. I know that's gonna be a tough one for everyone to kind of breathe in there, but I was a big fan of the Ultra Sun, obviously Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, like branch of the TV show. And I was like, okay, well, because I really like this branch of the TV show, I think all the characters are super cute, I think I'm gonna buy the game. And then at first, like, obviously the starters in Sun and Moon are really awesome. Might be some of my favorite starters, which I know are kind of generic starters because some of them are used in like Smash. I know one of them is used in Smash, and they're also used in other places. But just based on the storyline and some of the Pokemon are just and that region are just super cool. So yeah, I think that kind of brings in Last Life today, guys. What do you guys think? Any last thoughts?
Pokemon. We love it.
We love it. We absolutely love it. I love it.
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem, yeah. All right.
One of the things I found out after playing a bunch of Mystery Dungeon is they actually made anime clips of the game. Like, and they're pretty. There's only 2 of them, and they get from the start and then the middle part, which I wish there was so much more of it. I couldn't find much on YouTube though. Mm-hmm. But it's still it's I don't know. It's the most emotional I've ever been playing a Pokemon game, and that's why I was so disappointed with Super Mystery Dungeon because they made it too easy. They said screw this, screw that. It doesn't like. I don't know. They made it so gimmicky. It just felt dumb.
All right, Sam, last thoughts.
Well, all I can say is after a tough episode like this, I'm gonna go home. I'm probably gonna kick back. I'm gonna play some Zelda 2.
Nice.
The NES.
Alrighty, that's gonna be it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in to 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, for the Last Live show. And have a great afternoon.